Oh, this track. Shoutouts to Michael J. May he rip. I guess it's really weird to say it that way. To say rip. It's like saying LOL out loud instead of laughing. If Mikey was here and he heard me say that, he'd probably say something. So these guys don't have a lot of... Yeah, rip in peace. These guys don't have a lot of MR, and if you can get a... If you can get the wand shot off of them, they're pretty easy. I have more... Like, 8 is kind of on the high end of Evo, like especially for a character with -2. Mostly I train that much because of Invis, so that my fail rate is like significant. You can see it's basically like 1 in 3 now, which is pretty nice. And I'm not going to train any more Evo. Throwing though, yeah. You know what? I decided I want some throwing because large rocks. Large rocks are cool. No huge fan of ranged combat, but oh my god, I'm gonna have to go collect oh boy. This is the dungeon fetch quest. Maces and flails. Hey, I'm an ogre. I could wield a giant spike club, right, guys? Well, I always say only an ogre can truly appreciate the more subtle details of rock collecting. Like trolls are terrible rock collectors, but an ogre is an intelligent creature. With more sophisticated tastes in rock. So we're doing just fine on food as of yet. It's again like you just want to watch your spell casting. I will definitely train probably a couple more levels of it. The other thing is any javelins. Carried 18 javelins. I guess I've been carrying those. Throwing net. Oh yeah, what's this staff looking like? Staff of energy. Yep. I don't need to carry that right now. Let me try out what this ring is though. Ring of Ice. Don't really need more ice magic spell power. At this point, I'm probably not going to switch out Faith. Actually, Portal Projectile is a nice little spell to pick up. We haven't found that yet. What's my favorite school of magic? You know, I guess I don't really have a favorite one. You know, the magic schools in this game, they're kind of funny. Like, the damaging ones are all fairly similar to each other in a lot of ways. Poison is sort of a different one. And then Necromancy is sort of weird because it's split between allies and some charms-like effects. Some things that really could well and truly be moved to the charm school. And yeah, summoning effects as well as damage. So Necromancy is a pretty fun school, but it's kind of because it does everything. So Necromancy is up there because it's so useful. Transmutations, yeah, again, it's like it's forms, so it's really strongly associated with doing unarmed combat. It's kind of hard to compare it. Necromancy is the one that's sort of the one school that sort of does it all. And for the damaging schools, I mean, Firestorm is a really fun level 9 spell. Really straightforward. It gets kind of old doing fire magic over and over again. I guess Earth magic is maybe a little bit more fun because they're just sort of good, mostly single target commands. You know, Iron Shot is a pretty fun spell at the end of the day because it's just so universal. It's kind of boring in a way. Krull's approach to magic could definitely use some improvement, I think, because a lot of people criticize how kind of samey the different spells ultimately do feel. Like there is variation and it's good, but it's not huge, super interesting variation in many cases. Some spells are just bad versions of other spells that already exist, or just slight. You know, the bolt spells are kind of infamous: Bolt of Fire, Bolt of Cold, Bolt of Drain. Oh yeah, hexes are another interesting one. Nothing really stands out as like a school where I would say, "Oh, I love this one a lot." They're all some fun. They all have their own fun, but nothing super standout. Did we collect all the? We collected all the rocks. Guess we're going back to vaults. Can't have the brilliant mechanics of zombie hands, says the obviously trustworthy crack whore of Twitch. We need to make that our next fundraising goal, to get Mikey to rename his Twitch username. That's my next fundraiser. We reach $500 and we send it to Mikey and we say, change your Twitch username, Mikey. Is it actually possible to cause death in some way with Corona? That would be pretty funny if you could. Can you paralyze these guys? Oh yeah, sick. I want to be marked by you, by the likes of you. So if you're worried about slime creatures, here's a pro tip: go invis. They don't see invis. Oh, evocable invis though, one thing to watch out is it is super hunger intensive, by the way. So I said you could use it in every fight. If you do use it in every fight, you will potentially have hunger issues. So make sure your character otherwise has that under control. Wanted Gozag to Bolt of Cold. Win that terrible species again. Yeah, we might, depending on what my free time is looking like for the next release, I want to look at some things with species. I want to look at Pubby's sort of spell gifting idea and maybe consider where it could fit in. As far as other species goes, there's lots of room for improvement there for sure, but we've talked about maybe like doing something with, you know, the fact that both kobolds and deep elf exist. How about sorry, we should put Felid's wearing hat on the won't do list. We did, what was the rework idea we had for Felid's the other day? It was like, give them only minus 30 HP and normal move speed, and like, I forget the rest. Just to make Felid's not awful to play. Things that don't see invis. 2 ugly things. Although I'm not going to make use of that because I'm retreating. Oh, things that can go invis. Ogre mages. Oh, that's an error. Oh, I guess. It's funny how the cat wearing hat meme comes up a lot. People are like, just do it. Just. It's not a very crawl thing to like take the design of the species and just say, but arbitrarily just let it do this one weird thing. I mean, it both is and it isn't a crawl thing. It's an old crawl thing to approach changing the species in that way, but it's sort of a post, like, early DCSS, post Lindley crawl. It's not very in the spirit of the thing. Like, Fields don't really... The whole point of the idea with the field was that you don't have access to those things, and you get something really overpowered in exchange that lets you play the character differently. The problem isn't that they can't wear hats or boots. The problem is just that the gameplay idea ultimately is not super fun, because you have low HP and you have super low HP and you kite everything by running away, and you sort of lean on having extra lives if you get yourself in trickier situations, but it's just not that much fun. That's the issue in my mind that really needs to be looked at. Spreadsheets have a lot of data about movement to draw on a lot of experience about how awful it is. Yeah, the spreadsheet will calculate the fun index of Felids as slightly above average. A human is a 10.0 and a Felid is like 11.2 in the spreadsheet, but the spreadsheet's wrong. Can't trust a spreadsheet like that. With luck points? Oh, see, humans are fun. I like humans. I guess I don't know what luck points are. Is that like where the RNG is somehow less favorable based on your luck? The command is thanks, yes. Sarsanovi, and welcome. Yeah, that's what Crawl did too. I mean, that decision for humans to be that way probably is just an arbitrary Lindley decision, I guess. I mean, I think most experienced players do enjoy playing humans more or less. I'm not sure like how Mikey feels about it. Maybe he's not big into humans, but I enjoy playing them. I know Lasty does. I wonder if Elliptic is a big human player. Elliptic does not like demigods too much. Yeah, they are pretty strong. The XP increase, the XP quote unquote aptitude, which isn't really an aptitude, but is quite good. Well, I mean, he's won most of them at this point, so I don't think Elliptic hates them. I think he's won a lot of demigods too, so that's not necessarily much of an indicator. And obviously, that's just, you know, there's going to be differences among experienced players as to what is fun and what is not fun. Going in biz. I guess it didn't like your dash. It's hyphen hyphen, not. That looks like a single big dash. It's 2 characters for the. Yeah, I'm sure Crate does. I think Minmay does as well. Minmay and Crate have fairly overlapping opinions in terms of what they like and dislike. But yeah, I every time I play a human, I don't like, I have fun, I feel. His unique ability to like something. Does he like... I don't think he likes centaurs though, does he? I'd be surprised if he likes centaurs. You're like not losing this thing. Yeah, I guess you're sort of... I've noticed that Elliptic's opinions are... There's tons of overlap between, you know, things that the various longtime players have said. Of course, like, overall, there's probably much more overlap than disagreement. and it's just that the disagreement is like more notable. But Elliptic is not as much overlapping with some of those opinions. Like he doesn't like demigods. Well, everybody hates Felids, and he hates them too. I know there's been some other opinions that he hasn't, like some things like ranged combat summons that most everyone dislikes. He shares that opinion, but there's some others. I can't think of one right now though. Yeah, I know you don't. Lasty likes Demigod a lot. I'm kind of middle of the road on them. Like, in some ways they're kind of cool because the balance feels kind of nice early on. You're pretty strong, and later on it's kind of interesting how you're really forced to use spells and the stuff around you because you lack the punch from the god ability. But at the same time, you do feel quite like kind of weak, and you really feel maybe pushed to use the more overpowered stuff, which I guess kind of ends up feeling a little bit unfun. Like, I'm strongly incentivized to go summons in demigod games. Like, I'm somebody who tends to like using summons more so than most people, and so I'll find myself, oh yeah, here I'm playing a demigod, surprise surprise, I'm using allies again. Yeah, there's an interesting divergence. Elliptic does like Rue quite a bit, but Mikey does not. And I think I'm sort of in the Mikey camp there. I'm not as much of a fan. I do appreciate the design of Rue though, and I think it's a pretty, especially compared to the other gods in this game, I think it's a pretty good god design to have, you know, by Crawl standards, which are not, I don't think, all that high or anything. Not that, you know, I wouldn't like to see the god change to be more fun for me, but considering the other travesties that we have as far as god designs go in this game, I think Rue's pretty good. Yeah, everything does go up slowly, and I feel like I'm kind of pushed to use the more overpowered stuff. I know Hellmonk, like, I think he doesn't actually mind using ranged combat all that much. He uses it a lot, you know, because it's so overpowered. I'm sort of like that with summons, but even me, it's like I'll get tired of having to go with, like, if I have to go necromancy every game, summons every game, it does get old. Ellie. Ellie's actually pretty strong. Those other ones, I mean, Fedos is strong and Jiva is strong, but actually playing them, Ellie is really easy to play. It's just, I think Ellie's maybe considered kind of boring. Mikey's not a huge user of the LOL emote. Surprise, surprise. You would say using that emote is like saying LOL out loud. Yeah, the old Ellie was arguably more interesting, but I'm afraid it just was not interesting in a good way at all. Is Hep universal? No, Hep is definitely not. I know I can think of some players off the top of my head who absolutely love Hep and would probably name it as their favorite god, or at least I know one person. Obviously there's a huge variety of Crawl opinions, but if you mean only among like the well-known strong players, I think it tends more towards dislike overall. Yeah, most don't have strong opinions. Elliptic has said, for instance, to pick on his name again, that he finds it really boring as far as ally gods go, and that something like your red is actually a lot more interesting. Mostly because your ally count kind of shifts over time. You might have the good ones for a while and lose them, and you know, it can fluctuate due to what happens in the game, but with Hep there's no fluctuation. The only fluctuation is like your ally just getting stronger over time, and that's kind of boring. And yeah, Hep has felt to me, it felt a little bit dull, honestly. Maybe randomizing the guy that you got in some way would help, but It's a single ally where the ally gets in your way a lot and is constantly around. And unlike the other gods where you can just like leave them off of a level and recall the allies when you need them, they basically are always, you're always stuck with the Hep Ancestor, which is, I find to be kind of annoying. Maybe, yeah. Maybe loves to try stuff. He will, if you make a thing, he will try it. I don't know that, I don't know that like, is that Magic the Gathering, that thing that people were talking about? Where it's like, what kind of player, what cards do you like? So I don't know which one is which. If it's the one that likes to use all the different things, I could see that. But he likes to win too. I think he likes to use the different things in a strong way. And if the thing that if he finds that the thing is really weak, he'll be upset, I guess. But perhaps he does have a tendency to overrate things like god abilities. Yeah, it's one of the more fun ways to play those ally gods, so that you're just not, so that you only have an ally god. It's like they're a summon. It's sort of like playing with Makhleb. You know, you summon them when you need them. You're not just constantly having them around mopping up the floor, because that just gets super boring. Oh wow, big. My Arlek, MR, R-Mute. Well, congrats on my win. Oh boy. Did I put that Pearl Dragon Scales? Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty strong. It's funny too how people always talk about how if you have your red, you're guaranteed to lose your army in Zot, but I think people are really bad at basic conservation of those allies, because every time I play Ured, I always ascend with like most of my army intact. Yeah, see, I don't really like nuking my AC is the thing. I would be a loss of 4 AC in exchange for some resists I really don't need. So I absolutely do not want to wear this thing right now. I'm going to put it on the shopping list. If I don't get any other source of Arlek, I might consider it, because that's a thing. It's also kind of annoying to not have MR, but at the same time, I don't care quite that much. I do have Sticks to Snakes and Makhleb summons. You can practice your head on neopets.com. Nope, we haven't really found. That is the Shield of the Gong, and it's all of our MR sources are from Unrans, as it turns out this game. Shield of the Gong and Alchemist. I don't get it, Jeepicus. Oh yeah, I'm just talking about 3 rune. Taking your ed into extended sounds like an exercise in tedium. For a god, that's basically already an exercise in tedium. The old corner trick. These guys don't see invis either, by the way. But my AC was enough. There we go. possible we found the crypt end. No, crypt is... Okay, could've. I've never checked my Tiles chat. I used to have my chat window so that I could see Tiles chat, but I'm not really, don't really get much Tiles chat when I stream anyhow, so it's kind of pointless. Lightning Spire. Oh, it's Boris. Does he have hexes? I always forget. Yes, he has invis. Well, we got one. Let's see what we can do with another one. Did he go invis? I didn't see it. There's our bad boy. He did go invis, but I think I'm just gonna whack him on the head. There we go. Oh, Caco Demon's going to work. What? There we go. Kinda wish I had some good Necro spells, to be honest. Animate Dead. Gamma Funk, the old ally scumologist. God, if our math is wrong for something, that would be pretty funny. Yeah, the last commit I made with Elliptic was, or based on something you said, was fixing Zombie Hand's damage, and I looked at the formula he gave me, and I was like, no, Elliptic, that's wrong. And I didn't think about I didn't calculate the average of the die correctly, and I committed it, and he was like, no, you're wrong. And I thought about it, I was like, oh crap, he's right. And his words were, well, you didn't trust me. Like, Gamma Funk, you can't be trusted to do the math yourself. You should trust me, I'm Elliptic. That's how this works, Gamma Funk. Like, gosh, Elliptic, but I just thought... No, Gamma Funk, you don't think. I think. How could you question my math? Do you guys ever feel bad for Boris when you killed Natasha? I've never thought about it that way. The whole Boris Natasha thing is relatively recent, ZPD. Nice name, by the way. That Natasha came into existence like 016? 017? I'm not really sure. So that's a relatively recent invention. Although for some of you players, it's probably like before you started playing Crawl, but it didn't always used to be an association. The whole thing started, I think, because the dagger Morgue exists, and which is an item that. Wait, you can look it up, I believe, right? Oh man, that's a shame. Is it case sensitive? Aw. I guess you can't look up unrans. But, Morgue is this... Yeah, there it is. I don't know if this dagger predates Boris the Unique, or... Because, that's how Trog got created. There was the Wrath of Trog was one of the original, 5 Lindley Crawl uniques that got made before gods even existed. So there are those 5 artifacts. They were like the initial ones, and Boris existed first. Okay. So it sounds like Morgue is a dungeon crawl stone soup thing then, would be my guess based on that. And yeah, I mean, they just made it. This was like sort of like both Lindley Crawl as well as earlier DCSS of making just unrand arts that were. I always use this terminology and Minmay corrects it. Like I want to say that fixed arts are the ones that are just normal, that have, they're like normal, they don't have any special properties that you couldn't find on a random artifact. Fixed arts have unique. Yeah, my tendency was to call the ones like Morg's fixed arts, but fixed arts had unique properties. So I guess Morg is an unrand, to use that terminology. And it just is pretty boring. It's like Spriggan's Knife and Glaive of the Guard. It doesn't really have anything too special about it, just some backstory. Yeah, so Staff of Ogre is a fixed art using this. I guess people don't use this lingo anymore, but because it has a special thing that you can do with it. And the original artifacts, which were Wrath of Trog, Singing Sword, Sword of Power, Mace of Variability, and Glaive of Prune. All of them except Glaive of Prune were fixed arts, I guess, because they all had special things that you couldn't. Well, I guess at those time those were the only ones. I'm not sure when the random ones even got made. That might have come afterwards. Come to think of it, so maybe the initial ones were all that there were in Lindley Crawl. I'm not sure about that. It would be interesting to look that up. But yeah, I believe Natasha got kind of inspired by the fact that Morg exists, and people like the idea that there was things that Boris lost because he's been in the dungeon for so long. Which, I guess this whole aside kind of started because somebody was like, do you ever feel bad if you kill Boris? I think I feel bad if I kill Natasha, because you're killing somebody's pet cat. But I don't ever feel bad about killing Boris. Because Boris is a gross lich.